So, I'm gonna start by lampshading. I'm a bit late to the party. This show has been done for almost 4 years, but still I think it could be interesting to review the series as I go through it for the first time. Now, with that out of the way, Frogs! Amphibia is an American isekai show about a trio of girls getting stuck in a world of anthropomorphic amphibians and giant bugs. It aired on Disney from 2019 to 2022, but today we're just going to talk about Season 1, because that's all I've seen so far. This is going to be the spoiler-free section, after which I'm going to go episode by episode. So, overall thoughts, I really like the characters. With the main Plantar family, I like them all, though I feel closer to neutral about Polly as of yet. In general, I like all of the main characters, with the caveat that it really does depend on how certain elements are handled going forward. I've always been a sucker for a location that we get to know the whole cast of, and Wart is full of charming and interesting characters that have episodes or moments that make them likable. As for the main plot so far, it's pretty good. I think the major theme of what healthy friendship really is has been really compelling and used well to inform the characters and the best moments of the season. And the mysteries and loose threads that are left leave me hopeful that things will continue interestingly. I also really love how the show slowly gives you more and more world building in each episode. Spoilers from here on out. Okay, so, episode 1. This introduces us to the main characters and the world and tone and all that. And I'd say it does so pretty well, mostly. But it really is mainly focused on Sprig and Anne. It mainly introduces the other characters by just kinda showing you they exist. Maybe a few lines of characterization, but getting to know them really comes in separate episodes. It does give a passive intro to Hop Pop, with him giving the moral lesson at the end of the episode, but the actual plot of the episode is serviceable. The townies believe there's a new beast roaming the woods and go out to try to kill it, but it turns out it's our main character trapped in this world. But just in time to save herself, she befriends town goof Sprig.
Okay.
Then a monster attacks them. It works fine as a way to get the pieces where they need to be for this season's status quo, but obviously later episodes have more compelling plot lines to follow. This is the other episode attached to the series opener. As such, it's part of our initial introduction to the show. I don't have much to say about this one. It's just okay. Opening on a beach episode is clever since, it's a swamp world. Of course, the first place they explore should be water. Ultimately, the main added thing is the establishment of Anne's warped outlook on what friendship is and how it works. Oh, and that ending bit with Sasha creates some great intrigue and promise of an overarching plot. So, the meat of this episode is just kind of okay. The adventure and the conflict are just fine, the lesson at the end is very standard, but Anne breaking Hop Pop's cane while mocking him is very in character, and I really like the banter between the characters, especially at the start. Plus, this is the first adventure Polly gets to be involved in. And we meet Loggle, who's a fun character, always good to meet new townies, and I love both designs for the monster. The pen bit is cute, as is the whole I was never gonna kick you out bit. Okay, so this is the first episode I'd say I was really into. While like the previous episode, the main lesson and conflict are arguably cliche, two main characters / best friends are forced to live together and navigate the ways they annoy each other while not wanting to admit that it's happening at all, I still quite enjoy the hijinks around it, and it's great seeing Anne and Sprig come together. And the whole set piece around the leak in the basement is fun, as is the final battle in the flood. This episode is also the first one I'd say I'm enjoying Hop Pop. The bit of him trying to get the kids to just talk is fun. Okay, so here's where I start seeing the found family thing I heard about in this show that made me want to watch it. And it's really fun. The episode is filled with multiple fun misadventures as they collect ingredients to make a pizza to win the potluck. The various ways they get them are fun. I really like how they defeat the tomato monster at the end. Hop Pop and Anne's whole conflict about the old ways versus the new ways that started here. And in general, I'd say that Hop-a-Die is a lot of fun in this episode. Sprig is unhinged in this one as he fakes a robbery to force Anne and Hop Pop to bond. As is pretty consistent this season, Polly is around providing all the right jokes. She plays off Sprig well this episode though. I think it's my favorite of her main dynamic. But really what makes this episode special is the Stakeout duo's dynamic and conversations are super fun. And while the drug thing is decently fun, the moment they have where they connect is really sweet. And that moment alone makes the episode great. So in this episode, Anne gets a caterpillar that looks like her cat from back home, and it turns out that it's a type of moth that eats frogs. Really, the episode is just its hijinks don't really speak to me, and while Anne's arc is done well enough, the main source of entertainment I get in this episode is Hop Pop complaining about the family's old pet spider, Charlie Bigbottom. I especially love the bit at the end. Also, I'm going to call now, before I've seen any of Season 2, that Domino 2 is going to come up again in Season 2 or 3. Oh, caterpillar, like caterpillar. I get it. The Lost parody, Suspicion Island, is really fun, as is the way the team starts acting like characters in the show, all because someone watched the rest of the show without them. The adventure as they're going to the electricity bugs is pretty cute and fun, and the ending with the phone being way overcharged is a fun cartoony fantasy bit. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say than that it's a fun episode. I would die for Bessie. The main bit of the episode, Anne bonding with Bessie after getting stranded, is super fun, and single-handedly makes me love Bessie. On the whole, this episode is really fun, because when we aren't with Anne and Bessie, we're seeing Sprig getting cosmically trolled by Mrs. Croaker. And this really makes her a memorable member of the overall ensemble. Banger episode. Again, this episode is just kind of cliche. The arc is a character and the basic premise of main character wants to be liked and lets fame go to their head. Of course, the bit that her fame is born from having acne, and as such the fact people like her, is funny, and I enjoyed Toadstool and Toady. The episode is mostly just okay. Shout out Hot Pop f***ing dying.
He'll be fine.
Okay, so, again, one character questions the authority and then becomes the boss and realizes how hard it is a cliche plotline. However, I just so happen to enjoy how this episode does the cliche. I like Sprig going power mad, and I like how quickly Anne and Polly change sides. I like Jeremy, and I like the whole mud wrestling bit. Yeah, not a lot to say on this one. Girl Time is an odd episode. The episode is fundamentally about how Anne doesn't understand frog culture, specifically that she's trying to force human femininity onto Polly, who has no interest in such things. The main problem comes from the hijinks we're seeing just kind of being boring. I like the massage bit, and the ending section with the sheriff is fun, but I don't know, it's just not a very fun episode. So the whole bit that Sprig and Ivy are being forced into being romantic together is fun enough. Part of me feels like the ending immediately having Sprig realize feelings for Ivy kind of invalidates the bit, but at the same time it's decently funny. The actual events are pretty fun. I like Polly just being done with everyone, and the lore about the courting ritual is cute, as is Hot Pop admiring the birds that are going to kill them. So anyone to be included is pretty good and interesting about characterizing the human trio. I think that this arc really helps make Anne definitively part of the Plantar family. This episode is just a really fun time, and the monsters are fun and the bits are solid. I love Soggy Joe. His bits are fun, but the way he reacts to Anne explaining what happens offends me. Then he will drop out the Calamity Box is compelling, but I just don't really know where it's going as of this season. So Anne faking illness to skip out on work and then the frogs getting actually sick is decently fun. I like the different ways that the planters are sick, and then I really like the back half of the episode where the team thinks the planters are terminally ill and climbing a mountain to heal them is full of fun actiony bits as Anne tries to save them. And the ending is both humorous and sweet. This episode more than anything is a bunch of separate bits, as the kids learn the secret history of the family's past. I don't know if this newfound Plantar family lore will matter in the end, but the gags and adventure are quite fun. I like how each of them makes a save there, and it's just generally a good time. Also, of course, it's always great to see Loggle doing whatever nonsense. Until this episode, I didn't realize that Anne was Thai. Maybe Boon Choi is a much more Thai name than I realized, but till here I wouldn't have been able to guess. Though that's not really a problem. But the actual episode is pretty fun. While the main plot of Anne trying to help save a restaurant despite a critic is fun, the main thing I really enjoy is Anne's friendship with Stumpy and him coming to like her as the episode goes on. The final battle in the restaurant is just kind of okay, but the journey there is a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, I really like episodes that let you get to know the townies and dedicated episodes to give more depth to both the town as a whole and the individual characters when they show up in later scenes as background characters. And this episode is a really good example of that, maybe the best in the season. Once again, it's funny how quick Anne turns around from, just lie, it's no biggie, to, Hop Hop, this is going a bit too far. It's fun seeing Hop Hop switch from his normal, very honor and honesty-focused self to this con man persona, and how as soon as he has to face what he's doing, he goes back. It's a really fun way to examine him from more angles. Also, shout out Toady. He's consistently been a fun character, and his one bit here is very cute. Banger episode. Seeing Anne finally get through to the town, our first proper characterization on the toads, Sprig hopping in to save the day, this episode is just jam-packed full of great character work. I'd say it especially makes the collective of the town feel like a character. As well, it's just really well presented. The sun going down as the episode progresses, the rain during the fight, the dramatic music and sound design in the fight, and if you didn't already hate these three toads for their horrible treatment of the town, then them trying to take Bessie should really make you want them dead. Pretty much the whole episode makes for a brilliant halfway turning point for the show, the town now fully accepting Anne, and fully embracing being a member of the town, the toads knowing Anne's location, just a really good halfway point. Sasha episode. Was not expecting. So, the characterization of Grimes is pretty good, and seeing him interact with his soldiers, and especially Sasha, is great. But what really compelled me was finally getting to know Sasha. She and Marcy have been indirectly characterized through Anne, but now actually seeing Sasha in action had me worried about how she treated Anne back home. She really naturally knows how to manipulate people, and seeing her join forces with the Toads right after the last episode is concerning, to say the least. I know I've been talking about these episodes individually in general, but this paired with Toad Tax makes for one hell of a mid-season finale. Sprig agrees to watch the Grubhog even though he doesn't want to for Hot Pop, and convinces him to do the things he likes, chaos ensues. It's fine. It's a very basic plotline with very standard message. I do quite enjoy the Grubhog ceremony bit, and the ultimate conclusion is at least pretty sweet. And that's kind of a theme with all the Sprig-focused episodes. I have quite a soft spot for this episode. If it isn't clear yet, I quite like Hoppadiah Plantar. So an episode about him trying to win a girl from his supposed rival in a dance-off while not knowing how to articulately dance is right up my alley. And it's full of fun and wacky bits. The training montage is fun, and the way the kid poses backup is funny. And the ending is a nice little send-off to the episode. I don't care much for this one. This is easily the place I felt the most reminded this is a kids show for children, because to spare you a rant about how I feel about target audiences, obviously the whole time the show feels like it was made for children, but it was still entertaining beyond that. This episode, and a few others, but especially this episode, felt like it was primarily going for entertain children. I think that's because other episodes have fun characterization or world building, but this one, especially with such a kiddie plot, didn't really appeal to me much. It's still a serviceable episode of children's television, I just didn't really enjoy it. But I did like the bit around the movies Anne is showing everyone, and her presenting them, as well as the cartoony escalation of the Wartwood shipping war. Contrasting that is a banger! Hop Hop running for mayor while trying to get his groove back is already a fun premise, but then included in is a bunch of fun set pieces during the campaigning process, further displays of political corruption from Toadstool, and an interesting look at how the tower keeps the people they want in charge. And on the whole, I love how the whole town, but especially the kids, are so supportive of Hop Pop. And of course, the ending with the newsstand is wholesome. This is the first, and actually only, episode that plot is based around Sprig's crush on Ivy. Through him looking for a gift he prepares for her that's been stolen, and just straight up harassing people for the information. I wouldn't say it's the most fun thing in the world, but there's some serviceable bits. So, Sprig shopping the family in the archives is a really annoyingly dumb thing for him to do, but it works because that's the point. This episode, while telling us that they're all doing research and preparing for the adventure beyond the mountains, is really about Sprig having to face how seriously they all need to take this upcoming adventure. I really like how the other three all gravitate to different subjects, and all of the actual escape is great. This is a serviceable episode that I assume was mainly made to account for real-life winter. And messing around with the bodies and Sprig being drunk or something is a lot of fun, and the action climax is pretty decent, if not especially interesting. The monster was actually a mother trying to take care of its kids. It's already a common enough bit that it's relatively predictable. That being said, it's still a fun episode. So, on one hand, this episode is very fun and enjoyable, and on the other hand, it's based on the premise that everyone else in town likes Sprig, when like...
I'm just kidding, guys.
No, he's just not. That was like the whole bit at the start of the show, and nothing happens to warrant the entire town changing their minds in a few months. But otherwise, the whole thing with that one guy trying to murder Sadie, and I think her killing him, I assume she just kept him there to suffocate, is pretty fun. This was my favorite polycentric episode. Maybe it's because it's a horror pastiche, but that whole bit where she's realizing how to disappear on her own is pretty fun. And I think that the shed full of injured snails is actually a decent little implied horror bit. Also, Han using her middle school science knowledge to kill them is pretty fun. And I can't lie, the bed and breakfast bit is very cute. So, as implied, this episode is about the dynamic between, well, Anne and Wally. One-Eyed Wally isn't a character I've talked about till here, despite him being the first named character we see, but honestly, he's been one of my favorites every time he shows up. I love his humor, his personality and voice, and then this episode comes along and really adds heart to his character. The nurse they go on and watching them slowly connect is a bunch of fun, and the Mothman looks like a creature straight out of Hilda. It's really good creature design. Overall, it's just a really fun episode dedicated to was already a really fun side character. This episode is alright. Sprig tried to murder an old lady because he was jealous of her. It's very much a fine episode. My main assumption off of this is that Sylvia is going to be explored more at some point, and this exists to set that up. So the concept of the Bazaar is great. A secret night market that opens for one night each year, and of course the kids going there to try and learn more about the Calamity Box is a great way to get us to this location. And the actual events once they're there is... it's fine. The Markhart bit is fun, and while it's a decently fun location, all we get is it basically being a fair, but with gambling. Now, the ending of this episode at the tree poses potentially a make or break for Hop Pop, depending on how warranted this action ends up being, considering he did, in theory, just trap Anne here forever. So the main bit of this episode is fun. I enjoy the curse hijinks, Maddie is fun in this episode, and the ending action sequence is great, but I just don't vibe with the whole don't judge people by appearance thing. Cause yes, Frog Willy Wonka fits it fine enough, but with Maddie, the main reason they're creeped out by her is because of the way she acts and the things she does. That's like the whole joke during the breakup bit. I do enjoy how easily they call off the whole arranged marriage thing though. This is another perfectly decent episode. I enjoy the climax that Wart's Got Talent, especially the main performance, and the training montage and Hop Pop Fantasy are both plenty of fun, but I guess I just would have liked a little bit more Sprig in this episode, as is it's a Hop Pop episode that Sprig is important to, where I wish it was a Hop Pop and Sprig episode. Standard sports-based episode of a cartoon. The main character needs to learn how to be part of a team. It's fine. The actual sports are fun enough to watch, though the main thing I get out of this episode is seeing what Anne's view of this says about her and her friend's characterization. I also like all of the newly introduced characters on the mayor's team, and this guy. He grows tulips. This, once again, is fine. I like the lampshading joke.
Why, sometimes it feels like we have at least 2 wacky adventures a week.
And Spanish Teacher Boy is an enjoyable enough character. Really, part of me sees this episode to just set up for the kids being trained in combat for the sake of season 2 and 3, as well as the finale in Anne's case. I kind of felt nothing with this one. The kids repeatedly breaking our otherwise disturbing Hop Pop's boat time is decently fun, but they're actively being more immature than almost anywhere else in the season to justify it. The actual parasite mushroom hive mind thing is okay. It's a striking visual and I like how Bessie is used to deal with it, but in the end it's just an okay episode. It's the most I ever felt the ever-present pull of the status quo. Also, I assume Jeremy being infected will come up again. I really wanted to like this episode, more than I ultimately did. Really, the concept of the blurb said, and it's chosen as Frog of the Year, sounds like a really fun premise, especially right before the big double-length finale. But ultimately, it was just an okay storyline with some heartwarming moments. Also, I like Ivy being equally as awkward as Sprig. But yeah, it's an okay episode dedicated to establishing Anne's connection with the town, even the mayor, before we head into the finale. And what a cliffhanger this leaves for us. Reunion is a hell of an episode. First of all, finally seeing more of the events leading into the trio being sent to Amphibia, and getting a lot of characterization about Sasha. even after we're back in the present day. The fact that we still know nothing about Marcy gets me really excited for the next season, as does the ending shot of Grimes, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This episode does a great job at giving a bunch of the normal townsfolk moments of character to remind you of the stake, especially since Hot Pop is going to die because of the election episode, making him a symbol of anti-tower sentiment, which is a great callback that I wasn't expecting. Wally bombing the shit out of the tower is a great way to create further danger at the very end, after the, well... So Sasha and Anne's fight is probably the best action sequence, in this season at least. It has pretty much everything a great action sequence needs. It's got great choreography, it's got pretty good music under it, it has good dialogue interspersed throughout, it's shot and lit well, but above all, it's using the involved characters perfectly. Anne finally standing up for herself. I wasn't expecting Sasha to have the arc she does, and I'm really curious where her character will go moving forward. Grimes using the situation to prevent the townspeople from interfering further, coming right after Sprig stands up to Sasha on Anne's behalf, which, alongside being perfectly in character for him, parallels the first episode where he stands up to the town. Yeah, so... Reunion's a pretty good episode. So yeah, here's my favorite and least favorite episodes of the series. The show has been really fun with yet. I think its strongest element is its character writing, as is common for shows, but assuming it continues to use the ones we've met well and continues to introduce new interesting characters that are at least just as good, I think it'll be fine. So yeah, I'll make another review about Season 2 once I finish that, but there'll probably be other things in between, like with every series I've started or intend to cover. So yeah, see y'all in the next one.